MSNBC has decided to rebrand. Has everybody heard about this? They are changing their name to MS Now. They are not going to consider using the peacock logo. They can no longer use that because they are not going to be a part of NBC anymore. Now, this goes back to that Comcast agreement where Comcast decided to kick MSNBC to the curb, basically. MSNBC's numbers are not doing well. They have not been doing well, especially since the 2024 election. After Kamala lost, their numbers started to decline. They started laying people off, etc. We went through all that. We don't need to rehash that again. But yes, they are now MS Now. And apparently, Rachel Maddow was the one who dropped the bombshell during this interview here. Let me show everyone up on the screen. It was an interview with Pivot with Kara Swisher. This is where she announced that they were going their separate ways. Listen to this.
May I ask you, are you excited about your spinoff of Versant? What a great name.
Versant. Talk to your doctor about
results may vary. You could have a rash.
In terms of the practical impact of it, it's been all kind of upside so far.
Yeah.
I mean, we're hiring. What other news organization is hiring tons of reporters and correspondents and editors? And we're standing up this whole news gathering operation, which was funded as part of the spin. And in the end, once that is stood up, we will no longer have to compete with NBC News's properties for the news gathering, the product of the news gathering organization, which we otherwise had to. I mean, if we're all covering the same outbreak of war or whatever it is, if we're competing with Nightly and the Today Show and Meet the Press, and it's the NBC news gathering organization, we're always going to get whatever's left over. In this case,
pause. So I just want to say this. You guys know, again, this is kind of like my field here. This is a PR move, right? So Rachel is talking about it as though it's a good thing. That's just a typical PR strategy. You don't want people to think that this is a bad move, right? You want to convince your viewers that this is going to be good. And, we don't have to compete with NBC anymore for news gathering. And here's the reality, folks. MSNBC's numbers have not been good. This is part of the reason why, like, Joy Reid was removed, along with, her coverage, some of her coverage on Gaza, but also some of those numbers, right? This is why they have been removing people, laying people off. We looked at the numbers right after the election, and it was not good. Same thing for CNN. CNN and MSNBC, they've just been struggling since Kamala lost that election. And a big part of it was because they created a lot of hopium among the American people and basically convinced them that Kamala had this thing in the bag. And that clearly was not the case. And I think if Kamala would have won maybe one or two of those swing states, then people may have felt a little bit differently. But the fact that she didn't win any, people were just like, you guys have been BSing us like this whole time, right? So people were turned off. People were turned off from that. So she is just giving the typical PR message, which is that, this is going to be a good thing because we don't have to compete with them anymore. Not really giving you the full story, which is that their numbers suck, which is why Comcast wanted them to go. So this all started with Comcast. I don't want you guys to think that MSNBC made this move on their own. Comcast made the move. They pulled the plug.
It's all, we can apply our own instincts, our own queries, our own priorities to getting stuff that we need from reporters and correspondents. And so it's gonna be better once that's all stood up.
Yeah. I like the cut of your jib here because half the people, I like that expression. I like to say it a lot. It sounds like I like the cut of your jib.
I didn't even know I had a jib.
Everyone has a jib, Rachel.
Yeah, I don't even know what this jib thing is all about. But that's where a lot of people found out when Rachel Maddow appeared on this podcast and made it very clear to everybody that they are going separate ways, that MSNBC is deciding to leave NBC and changing their name. And I want you to see what the name stands for. MSNBC to change their name to MS Now. Okay. Who came up with this name? MS Now. Ta-da! Amid spinoff from NBC Universal. And I just want to break down that name for you. MSNBC will change its name. Oh, whoops. I don't know. It didn't highlight what I wanted to highlight. Here we go. MSNBC will change its name to MS Now for My Source News Opinion World. My Source News Opinion World. In other words, they are basically, I don't know, kind of telling you that the news that is presented will be their opinion. Am I misinterpreting that? Feel free to tell me. But to me, that's kind of which is kind of what they've been doing, right? All along. Haven't they kind of just been giving you like this opinion or whatever? Didn't Rachel Maddow testify and say that she's not news? Her and Tucker Carlson, when Tucker was still a part of Fox, didn't they say they weren't news? That they're infotainment? So this is kind of their way, just MS Now. My Source News Opinion World. And why is it so damn long? Comcast announced last year that it would spin off most of its cable TV networks into a separate publicly traded company called Versant. So I told you they were the ones that pulled the plug here. The branding change represents Versant's emphasis on building our individual identity and vision for the future while laying a foundation for the continued growth and success of our business. Okay. Here it is, MS Now. So they can't use the logo that they had anymore because they're not a part of NBC. So I guess this is their new logo. I don't know. My Source News Opinion World. All of this is with them is opinion. And the peacock is synonymous with NBC and it's their symbol, so FYI. It goes on to say here, while our name will be changing, who we are and what we do will not. Cutler said in an internal memo, our commitment to our work and our audiences will not waver from what the brand promise has been for 3 decades. So in other words, new name, new logo, same BS. They'll still propagandize people. They will still gaslight people. That's not going to change. But I told you guys, the name changing and the rebrand, in my opinion, it almost comes across as though some of these corporate media outlets are trying to compete with, I think, some of the commentary on YouTube. And I don't even mean myself. I'm talking about people that have like millions of subscribers. They're trying to compete with that. And so what better way to do that than to, number one, change your name, do a rebrand, and convince people that you're kind of sort of independent and things are going to be different now. That's like the new trend, if people haven't noticed. But we know you guys still the same. We know you're still spewing the same propaganda. They're not going to change that. But they got to compete with that. It's not just what Rachel Maddow said, we got to compete with MSNBC or NBC for news gathering. It's not just even about that. Okay, I thought that was just a PR move, like I said, PR answer. It's also about competing with commentary on YouTube. Because when it's getting to the point where you have YouTube commentators that are getting more views than some of these MSNBC shows, that says something, that people are moving away from typical corporate media. And that's what we have here. And even on Morning Joe, they shouted out the change.
All right, we have breaking news as it pertains to our network. This morning, a new name for the network by the end of the year. We will become MS Now, which stands for My Source for News, Opinion, and the World. And look, Andrew, they even have a graphic up. I like
there it is.
Actually,
the new logo.
It looks very sporty. As we go to Versant, we're going to be moving in this direction. MS Now, which I got to say, I got a call yesterday afternoon, and they're saying, "We hope you're okay." We're going. I was like, "What do you mean? Like this shows we're independent." And what I've said on this show time and time.
No. Come back to it now. Everybody see what they're trying to do?
This direction, MS Now, which I got to say, I got a call yesterday afternoon and they're saying, we hope you're okay. We're going. I was like, what do you mean? Like, this shows we're independent.
There's that word again, independent. You see how they're trying to trick people? Look, guys, look at us. We're independent now. We're not attached to NBC anymore, but they're not independent. All you got to do is look at their funding. But that's the new game for corporate media, or for people to leave corporate media and say, look, I'm independent now. Still got the same donors, etc. I don't know how this is going to work out for them. I mean, you got people at MSNBC like Rachel Maddow, who's making over, what I understand, $30 million a year. I think my question is, will they maintain those salaries? Or are there pay cuts that are coming? Think about that for a second. I don't know, man. I do not know.
And what I've said on this show time and time again is you look at the people that are running the company, they're entrepreneurial. Right. Like when you have somebody come into your company after working for like big corporations and you're talking, you're saying, and they go, we want you to be entrepreneurial. We want you to come up with new ideas. We want you to push the boundaries. I'm excited about that. So I'm excited about this too. It's like, what's in the name? Well, whatever you put into the name.
Well, look, my understanding is this decision was a choice by NBC Universal. Right. Remember, originally they were going to leave the Peacock with the different units. Right. They decided that they wanted that to stay with NBC Universal. Having said that, despite my sentimentality about the Peacock, I've always loved the Peacock. Yeah. The truth is, I've always thought about this network and CNBC and USA and actually all of those assets as insurgent networks. Right. This is an insurgent network. And I love the idea, to be honest with you. You can take out your salt shaker or whatever you want to do and say, take it with a grain of salt. But I like this because I think it actually does have the sort of independence and actually gets away in some ways from even the idea of legacy media. Yeah. Right?
Everybody pay attention to what's happening here. Gets away from the idea of legacy media. So here's the thing. It's not your name. It's not their name. It's not their logo. It's the information. It's the people and the information. So as long as people turn on to MS Now, MS Later, MS Today, whatever the hell you want to be tomorrow, and they still see Joe Scarborough, they still see Rachel Maddow, they still see all these propaganda puppets, Simone Sanders, Jen, whatever the hell her last name is. You guys know what I'm talking about. They still see these same commentators on there. That doesn't change anything. It's not your name. People didn't stop watching you because of your name or because of your logo. They stopped watching you because you were lying. Because you are liars. That's why they turned away. And now they are going to push this narrative that they are independent, that they're grassroots. I don't think it's going to work. I think people are going to see right through it. I think the people who are currently watching MSNBC right now will continue watching MS Now. I don't think it's going to bring new eyes over to you. People still know you're you. It's like you can change your name. I can change my name tomorrow. But if I'm walking down the street and people who see me already know me, they still know that I'm me. Nothing changes other than the name. So we still know that you're going to lie. We still know that you guys are going to continue to push a pro-war narrative. We still know you're going to protect the status quo, protect the empire. None of those things are going to change. That's the thing about this. They want to try to be independent media so hard, but they don't want to do the work that it takes to get there. They want to try to be independent, but they don't want to do the work that it takes to get there. They just want to be independent in name only.
I mean, I think what you're seeing MS do and what you're seeing some of these other networks do now is not just linear, but by the way, I'm watching you on TikTok now. Do you know that? I'm seeing you on TikTok.
So this is a thing, and of course, because I'm hip with the kids, people, I know. I actually didn't know this, but this network is the most watched news network on TikTok and on YouTube.
Yes,
right?
It is.
So we are moving. We're moving in a direction beyond corporate media. And again, I think this fits. It fits. It's where it's a new marketplace. And you look at legacy media, you look at the old media companies. I could list a lot of names, John Lemire. That
you are legacy media, and it's not the kids watching you on TikTok. It's probably older people. The people watching you on TikTok, the people watching you on YouTube, the people who are already watching you to begin with. I don't hear a lot of younger people say, man, I can't wait to get home and watch some MSNBC. You never heard those things, right? So he is talking about legacy media as though they are not a part of it. They are a part of it. But this is a part of the rebrand. They are going to try to convince people that they are something different. They're going to try to convince people that, oh, those are the old school people over there, and we've moved on to the new, but it's still the same propaganda. What a mess. This is hilarious.
That meant a lot 5 years ago, 10 years ago, that mean nothing absolutely now. It's what have you done for me lately? And are you looking to the future? Are you trying to hold on to the past? And this is a question. Are we going to be like Eastman Kodak throughout the 1980s and 90s? Or are we going to be like NVIDIA and look at a brave new world? And I think this actually helps us do that.
The media landscape has been changing a lot over the last decade or so, but it's been really accelerated in the last few years in this particular moment. So it does seem an ideal time to rebrand, an ideal time.
The media landscape has been changing is a code for our ratings have been decreasing. Like, they're not going to come on there and say that. They're not going to say our ratings are down, so we're doing a rebrand.
To embrace a new identity, to, as you said, to be an insurgent network. MSNBC.
By the way, it's also a line in the sand just about the future. And the truth is that this network, originally the MS, was Microsoft.
Right.
So for a very long time, there has been a rebrand, I would argue, almost in order.
Yeah. What do you think?
I think it's good. Slight smile.
You're just saying that.
No, I think it's good. And I think, I think that I didn't know the MS was from Microsoft. I mean, I think
crazy. That deal didn't go well for Microsoft.
Yeah, but anyway. It did not. But I think that's right. And look, we know for a fact that people.
Why was a tech company involved in corporate media? Microsoft. Why was a tech company involved in the news?
People get their news, a lot of it from YouTube and TikTok. So if you're biggest news, if you're the biggest news network out there, that's a big deal. Yeah,
the goal is again, be entrepreneurial and be independent. Let's
we call it. We've always just say MS anyway.
Yeah,
right. MS, and then the truth is now is what this is all about.
Right.
So shout out to Dropsite. Thank you so much for that. So basically what this comes down to, you heard what they said. More people are getting their news from TikTok. More people are getting their news from YouTube. And that's what they're trying to do. And even if Comcast didn't drop them, remember, MSNBC was already on YouTube. So they're trying to give this different image, and they're trying to get a younger audience. They're trying to get newer viewers so that they can spread their propaganda to more people. But they're not independent. How you independent and you got someone making $30 million a year? Get out of here. Come on, guys. It's hilarious. Like I said, what they don't want you to know is that their ratings are bad. It's a typical thing. Like, and you talk to people that have worked like within that industry, typical thing they'll tell you. And I saw it even when I was in higher ed, right? Like, let's try to change, let's rebrand, let's do something different so that we can get our admission numbers up. Like, I've seen these things. So same thing with media too. When things start to fall, it's like, okay, we need to make some changes. Let's try to rebrand. And Comcast didn't want to keep them. They kicked them to the curb for a reason. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.